one battle after another, has been revered by critics within the past week and has absolutely blown up recently. It's gotten really good reviews, and a lot of people are asking a lot of questions about this film. Now, this film is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. He's directed other great films such as There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, and Boogie Nights. He's a very well respected director, and of course, with such a director comes a great stacked cast. Now, the cast that's mainly plot focused in this film is Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, Teyana Taylor, Regina Hall, and Sean Penn. These are the main characters of the story and the biggest stars in the film. So the story mainly focuses around Bob's character, who's played by Leonardo DiCaprio. He's part of the French 76, but has to leave because of his newborn, who's played by Chase Infinity. By the way, for her second or third ever major film, this she did a really, really good job. She was really solid, and her performance was honestly really good. So as she's growing up, Leonardo DiCaprio's character Bob gets really comfortable, overuses drugs, overuses alcohol, and really truly becomes Bob as the character we see in the trailers. Due to his carelessness and his becoming of Bob, the child gets taken away and he has to find her before Stephen J. Lockjaw, who's an enemy from the start of the film, gets to her first. So basically, that's the premise of the film. Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw is played by Sean Penn, who delivers a fantastic performance. And his character is a really big contrast of satire and serious. The satire parts, like in the first act, are sometimes leaving you like, what have I just watched? It's really weird. Kind of missing the tone of the film sometimes. But when he is on the other side serious, he really is serious and makes you really think, does Bob, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, stand a chance saving his daughter from this absolute maniac military colonel who's just, straight edge, completely crazy? I think everybody's performance in this film was really good. Nobody skipped a beat and everybody carried the weight of their performance on their shoulders without a doubt, which is what you would expect from a Paul Thomas Anderson film. Everybody to, come into set locked in, ready to absolutely do their best. So we were all kind of expecting this. I think tonally, some characters missed compared to the film. Like some characters' tone didn't really match the tone of the film at given times. So Lockjaw, for example, his character's satire sometimes just felt weird, as if there was supposed to be more to it. But it was maybe cut down or something. It just didn't feel right. It just felt weird, specifically in the first act. First act was crazy, a little bit weird. You're kind of sitting there, you don't know what's going on. It's just weird. And then, but I do believe Bob's character, his tone absolutely hit the nail on the head of the film. Like it matched perfectly. Leonardo DiCaprio really toned it in, and Bob really does look like Bob, and he suits that film completely. I think the first act and the third act were choppy. They didn't really make sense. The first act, 100%, was the weirdest. It just felt kind of like you getting food shoved down your throat. It didn't really, it was like, oh, it's too much. It just weird, absolutely weird. Number two, the second middle part of the film was really good. I think that was the smoothest, most, solid part of the film that kept you engaged. The third act was once again a little bit choppy. Not as bad as the first act, I don't think. Maybe a little bit, but still, the one and three almost as if something's missing. Maybe it was supposed to be a longer film, or just maybe they cut some part of the story out, or just something. It just felt choppy. I think I really enjoyed the link between the characters' actions and the consequences that come to haunt them later on in the movie. So, for example, Bob, his alcoholism and overuse of drugs really comes to haunt him later on in the movie, and his ability. It makes us think he's really weak and absolutely stands no chance against Lockjaw, which I think is good because it keeps us on edge. It doesn't give you that feeling that often films do, where you're like, oh, okay, here's another main character. Of course he's going to win. So throughout this movie, I was like, there's no chance that Bob's going to win. I think my favorite part of this film has to be Sensei, who's played by Benicio del Toro, picking up Bob from the hospital. Bob's crazy, panicking. We have to go. We have to do this. We have to do this. And Sensei's just throwing back beers, whilst police is chasing him, completely nonchalant. Sensei's character in this film also had one of the best dynamics with Bob. So he had the best dynamic set to the film. His tone really matched the film. I also think Benicio del Toro had one of the best performances in this film, even though he had like I would say one of the least screen times for such a good character. He played it so well, and he really, really fit the movie. I think a funny part of this movie was every time Regina Hall was on screen, she had a great performance. Her performance was very subtle and emotion based. So we saw her reactions mainly, and then she was supporting the main character. She did a really good job, but every time I saw her, I laughed because I thought of Brenda from Scary Movie, which was fantastic because it made the movie that much more enjoyable. So the biggest issue I think I had with this movie was during the first act when the French 76 is basically being introduced to us. It's the first intro of the scene. As we're following the French 76 throughout the movie, I don't feel a personal connection to the French 76 or the main characters. I feel like they didn't explain what the French 76 is about, what they're supposed to be doing, why we're following them, why they're the good guys, or why we're supposed to be, with them. Maybe they did. Maybe I just missed it personally. Maybe it just went over my head. But I genuinely just didn't feel that connection because I didn't know what we were fighting for. So I understand Lockjaw's the bad guy. They really made that clear. That's fine. But I don't know why we're with the good guys and why we're celebrating them. We don't really know what they're about. Again, I might have just missed it. That might just be me. But I feel like that kind of threw me off throughout the movie because I left the movie kind of confused and then unsatisfied, maybe. I just wasn't sure how to feel. I was kind of empty. And I feel like that was one of the main reasons why, because I just didn't identify or truly, link with the characters, which I think is to the lack of explanation. But once again, it could have just went over my head and I could have completely missed it. Overall, I would say this movie was pretty good. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I'm somewhere above the middle. I'd say 7.5 out of 10. I didn't leave the movie theater thinking, oh my god, what an absolute masterpiece I've watched. Or I didn't think, oh my god, I hated it, or I didn't like it. I just left it thinking, okay, that was a little bit weird, but it was fun to watch. I think it has a few issues. I think also there's more potential in the movie. I think there's a few missed places, or maybe if, it was longer. It was a long watch. It's a almost 3-hour movie that truly feels like 4 hours. It feels really, really long to watch. Sometimes I think it's just because it doesn't really engage you too much. But nevertheless, I do recommend it absolutely to everyone to watch. It was a decent watch, fun for at least once. I personally won't rewatch it again, and I really don't see the hype. But yeah, I recommend everyone watch it. So thank you.